My mother always told me, when you feel bad or sad or have the catch-up song in your head, just play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and you don't need to worry. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 with me, Silvarret, and I'm going to teach you how to do boring stuff like footers and flanges, because nobody ever likes doing footers and flanges. They're the most boring process of the entire thing. It's hard to screw this up as well. It's just anybody can do this, but it's really boring. It doesn't really require any thought or any creativity or any somehow brain stimulating processes. It's just really boring. So footers is just when you're building a B&M like I am right now, always use CPCisco's B&M footers, nothing else. Maybe aged footers if you feel like that, if you're trying to get an old, looky, kind of rusty kind of coaster. But in any other scenario, don't do it. Just use this set because it's the most realistic and best set. That is, of course, if you don't want to be realistic or do something cool like this, of course you're free to use whatever. But I just recommend using this one. But yeah, just place these things, and for example, if you've got something like this going on a corner piece, then the best way to go is use an edge corner piece, which usually fits really well, like that. So for this, I would normally, since these are diagonal supports, also use some diagonal footers. So I'm going to take the you know what, I'll actually explain a little about the placement of these footers. So we've got the corner piece, which goes on these corners, so basically where the blue things cross, always turn on the grid, especially when you're doing footers and flanges. But the corner pieces are on the grid / in the middle of a square. The center pieces are actually not really in the center of a piece, but in the center of a quarter of a piece of a square in the grid. So that means they're in that little corner between two corner pieces, basically. Now the edge pieces are on these lines but on the side, so they're like center pieces but on the lines of the grid, and then all of the combination ones are just a combination between them. So for example, I'll give an example. Yeah, I'll totally do that. So we've got a corner piece right here, we've got a center piece here, and I mean another corner piece here. Then of course there should be a centerpiece in the middle right here. So a centipede. Never mind. So we're going to take a centerpiece, and look, it's exactly in the middle. But if you want, for example, a piece that's in between these pieces, then you can take a center corner piece, which will end up in the middle of these pieces, or if you turn it around, in the middle of these pieces. That's basically how all of the placements work. If you didn't know that yet, it's really important if you want to do the footer placement fast and the right way. So for this, for example, this thing seems to be a centerpiece, but a centerpiece will just miss it, like you see right here. So it's probably going to have to be a center corner piece, because it's kind of in between the center and the corner. So let's see, and yes, it is indeed a center corner piece. So yeah, I always see many people complaining about how this kind of footer system works, because there's so many placements and it can be really annoying. But as you can see, if you just kind of mess around with it a little and try to memorize what all of the placements are, that it's a lot easier to work around with this. So this seems to be a center piece / center corner piece. I'll just have to see what looks best. It does appear to be a center corner piece, so I'll try that. And yeah, that's pretty much a perfect fit right there. So then this should be 1, 2. Yep. And then this is probably a center piece. Let's see. Center. Yeah, that's actually really good. The only thing is that it's sticking out here. We don't want that. Going to have to change the support on it then. In this kind of a case, I would normally just remove the extended support, because extended supports are actually good for nothing supports. The only thing that they're good for is saving time. But in a case like this, when you've got terraforming and supports and footers like these, it's best to not. Oh god, I totally forgot about that. Let's see. You know what, forget about that. In a case like this, you can always just take a bush later on or a rock and cover that little thing up. So we're just going to skip it now. Don't care about little details like that can bother you. Just forget about your OCD for a moment, and you'll just place a little shrub right there later on, or something like that, something that covers it up. So moving on, we've got some straight supports again here, so that means we're going to use some straight footers. So let's see, some corner pieces. I'm totally blind right now. Now this, never make it intersect with the terraforming like this, by the way, that's really annoying. And if it intersects with a connector like that, I'd usually change it to the color of the connector like this. And by the way, when placing supports, I would always keep a minimum height of the footer. I mean when placing footers, I always want to keep a minimum height of the footer of just that little edge, so that you can still see the edge of the footer and it doesn't sink into the terrain, because I just don't like it when I see that. It doesn't really make sense either. Now this isn't quite perfect for an edge piece, so you can take a corner edge piece, an edge corner, that's what they're called, and that's a perfect fit. So basically there's no single situation in which there's not a perfect footer for this, which is pretty cool. These footers always end up working no matter what kind of weird support it is. The only thing that I sometimes have problems with is terraforming, because that can sometimes lead to some weird situations where your supports are going into a rock or something and it's really hard to add a good footer to it. But in almost every case these footers really work, in contrary with some footers which only have these corner placements, for example, and then it's a lot harder to get some good footer placements. Now let's see, I'm totally missing the corner piece. Oh wait, I need a centerpiece, totally forgot about that. No, I don't need a centerpiece, I need a center corner piece. Good. Alright, that's all looking great. No, I'm not sure what I need here. Center corner piece, I guess. Yeah, good enough. As long as, well, this is something that I like to think of, as long as the support doesn't hit one of these bolts, you're safe, basically. Although this might change if you've got 1H supports that you want to add a footer to, but in any case you should never have any 1H support leading onto the ground, not in any scenario, because that barely supports anything. Now I need some edge pieces for this, of course, so wait, oh, I almost thought I was missing something. It's a bit close to the ground, but not too close, so I'll just do it. By the way, I did get a message from someone who was totally right. There is a set called Steel Chaos, which is a set which has the pieces Moby Steel Jungle has, plus a lot more. But it's got like hundreds of pieces, and some people like to use it, but I don't like to use it because it's not exactly user friendly and it really messes up my custom scenery list, and it's a set that consists out of multiple other sets, so it also sometimes tends to generate some extra lag, so I don't like it due to that. But if you want, you can get that set because it has some pieces that Moby Steel Jungle doesn't have, like the infamous 6H piece that I always want to complain about. So if you wanna use that set and call me a hypocrite, then you can go ahead. I'll put a link to it in the description if I don't forget about that. If I do forget about that, you can of course leave a comment and say, hey Silvarret, where the fuck is Steel Chaos? Give it to me, and I'll post a link to it, of course. Now I'm having some trouble with this support right here. It's not really the best support you can have, but this is close enough. Not hitting any of the bolts should be good enough. Now yes, supporting does tend to be a little bit boring. I mean, placing footers, I keep saying supporting, why does that even happen? But yeah, this is kind of a boring job, and sorry for not cutting out any of this, but like I said, I wanted this to be a full tutorial, as in my entire stream of thoughts and every single thoughts on every single thing in the game, uncut and raw. So that is this. So if you really want to learn something from me, then I guess you could listen to me in the background while doing something useful with your life. That seems like a good idea to me. Again, this is a bit of a weird placement, so edge corner is the way to go. Looks good. Not hitting any of the bolts. And some normal corner pieces again. I'm always glad when I see these corner pieces, because you know, you don't really have to mess with it. It's easy placement. You don't have to deal with any of those weird edge or center pieces. It's just nice and easy. And right here I'm going to have to mess with these edge pieces again, so don't like it when that happens. This is an edge corner, and this is an edge corner as well. Okay, that's great. Now let's see. Wait, some people complain about the corkscrew supports, but I don't quite remember what it was. Oh, I think... Oh yeah, it was something about that you had to support the top of the corkscrew. But that doesn't happen. Not with Roller Coaster Tycoon. Not with B&M coasters. B&M coasters don't have supports on the top of it. That's just not how they roll. Except a corkscrew is not really a roll. Only inline twists and barrel rolls are rolls. Though I'd say they still kind of roll in a way. I mean, it's kind of a rolling motion. But anyway, they just don't have those arches of supports above them, which support them from the top. Just doesn't happen. They support it from the sides. No, there might be some B&M coasters which have supports like that. And yes, I do feel like these supports are really low, but they're decent. They're good enough. The track is not that heavy. Plus, it's not an aero coaster where it's that terrible that they have to put supports and catwalks everywhere. I mean, B&M knows what they're doing. They're one of the most best. Yeah, they're one of the favorite roller coaster creator companies, kind of whatever you call those things. Apparently they're really good at building roller coasters. Don't ask me. I'm not actually not really a coaster enthusiast. I just know about all this business due to this game. But I other than that, I couldn't care less about roller coasters. Sorry guys. I do like the way they look. I'm that one guy who goes to the theme park, and then instead of actually riding the roller coasters, he just looks at them, going, that's beautiful, and get my aesthetic contemplation going. So that's me. Yeah, I said it. I've said it multiple times in private Skype calls probably, but now you guys know it too. I'm not a coaster enthusiast. Just go away with all your stupid coasters. You know, coasters are cool and all, but it's not fucking life. Okay. I do visit the theme park review. Yeah, basically because every time I post a comment on that channel, like every time I post a comment on one of the videos there, like some people have to say, "Oh my god, it is Silvarret," and then I get all the thumbs up, and then that's so fucking funny. I just can't stop. Even though I've been on TPR for like 3 years probably, I've always watched many of their videos, but just every time I leave a comment, it's, I don't know, people recognize me, which is kind of cool in a way, but also maybe a bit annoying. If I'm on a video and I see somebody commenting, and then I see people going, "Oh my god, it's him," and then a flood of people, it's kind of weird, and it's kind of, what are you doing? But then again, it's a comment section. Who really gives a shit? You know, it's uncensored. You can do whatever you want. Except, yeah, these days you can do whatever you want. Oh, these supports are really awkward. Yeah, I've also heard people say that, yes, you might want to place a support in the middle right there, and I figured no, because this is a very small Cobra roll, and small Cobra rolls don't always have 3 supports. But if I look at it from the side, it does look a bit weird, but I'll do that when I get to an episode where I just do the finishing touches on the coaster itself, before moving on to the scenery, of course. Because if anything, by the way, before you move on to doing the scenery, you want to have everything in the coaster finished. Because you know you want to build the scenery around the coaster, not the other way around. Around. Forget about that. Mainly because you don't want the coaster layout to be all weird and wibbly wobbly just because you need to move around scenery. That is, of course, only if you're not making scenery that is actually part of the roller coaster. Like some people add buildings that support the roller coaster in one way or another, or the scenery is actually the supports, or the supports are actually the scenery, whatever you like to say about that. Then in that kind of case, then yes, you should come up with the order yourself. But if you're making a generic coaster, then you should always do the supports first and then the scenery and the foliage, just because you don't want to create any collisions or awkward supports or awkward layouts just to move around things. Scenery is the most flexible thing you can build in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. You can easily build it around stuff, and that's not really the case with coaster layouts or supports. That's kind of why you need to pay attention to that. And by the way, you can see that I'm placing vertical flanges on these angled pieces. You should never do that, only if you're lazy like I am. I'll just, you know what, I'll just add a slanted flange right here. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. You can only see the difference if you look from up closely, but if you're looking from a distance, you can barely see those flanges anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. If you're in a bored mood, by the way, and you don't want to deal with all these flanges, just only use vertical flanges. Don't bother with the horizontal or angled flanges or anything like that. Just notice that I forgot doing the footers for these corkscrew supports. We'll do that right away. By the way, if you've got multiple supports that are exactly the same like I do here, just use Control to get the flange everywhere in the same spot. Let's see. Just noticed that this support is off. Oh wow, that's a fail on my part. We'll fix that as well. And let's see what else. You know what? Yeah, this is good enough. Don't need any other flanges. You don't need to place flanges on small supports because they don't really exist out of multiple tubes. By the way, just some history for anyone if you don't know that yet. Flanges are the things that are used to connect these beams to each other so that you can make a support. Now, of course, in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 we have Moby Steel Jungle and no gravity, so we don't need flanges, but for realism purposes some people like to place them. And I do, of course, too. Because, like I probably said at some point earlier, but I'm not sure if I also did it in this video. I probably did, but if you do not place down flanges, everyone's going to be bothered and complain about it and whine about it. But if you do place them, nobody even gives a shit. So it's that kind of annoying thing. It's that thing which you have to do, but nobody actually cares about. Except those with OCD, but those with OCD can go away. Let's see. Oh god, the awkward placements again. Oh, this is good enough because otherwise it's intersecting with the terraforming. Now I should have had everything at this point, which I do, yeah. So I'm almost finished for today. That's great. I can finish this video off and render it and upload it tomorrow or something, which is quite cool. I'm actually not really pre-recording these videos. Most of my other videos I'm actually pre-recording, like my Let's Play videos are most of all pre-recorded. Sometimes they're months old before I upload them. I just bulk create them. But these are the kinds of videos that I can create relatively fast, so these are the kinds of videos that are actually quite new when I upload them. Because today it's like the 3rd of June, I guess. Yeah. So hi guys, I am not from the past. I am from the now. I'm from the now. Maybe I'm from the future. Wait, no, that's impossible. Let's see. Now this should be good enough. but it isn't, so I'm going to have to replace that support as well, because this is kind of weird. Let's see, Moby Steel Jungle, where are you at? Where you at? Wombo combo, sorry, where you at? Wombo combo. +1 for anyone who recognizes that reference. By the way, speaking of Wombo combo, I've got a montage parody coaster coming up for all of you. Sorry, this is not an update video, but I just want to say to all of you who are watching right now, and are still watching in the past and not in the future, where I've already finished and uploaded that montage parody coaster, remember about my 3000 subs video in which I said, you guys come up with a theme, post it, and the comment with the biggest amount of thumbs up will actually be the theme for the next coaster. Yeah, it's going to be a montage parody coaster. So if you don't know what that is, you have the time to look it up and see what it is, and be like, why are you even doing this? I don't even know. But yeah, I promised that I'd do the coaster. So yeah, I'm going to have to build that montage parody coaster. I'm pretty much forced to, because it's pretty much my promise. But that was today's episode. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in next episode, in which I do yeah, well, what am I going to do next episode? I figure I'm just going to do the catwalks, finish the whatever I had to finish, probably the 3rd support right there, and start work on the queue line, I guess, and finish the station, because I still need to finish that. So till then.